Thirst. Another morning, and I wake with thirst for the goodness I do not have. I walk out to the pond, and all the way, God has given us such beautiful lessons. Oh Lord, I was never a quick scholar but sucked and hunched over my books past the hour and the bell. Grant me, in your mercy, a little more time. Love for the earth and love for you are having such a long conversation in my heart. Who knows what will finally happen or where I will be sent? Yet already I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing except the prayers, which, with this thirst, I'm slowly learning. Okay, when I first read this poem, I didn't really understand what it was talking about. Then I researched a bit more about Mary Oliver and this this poet's book, which is also called Thirst. And this is like one of the poems in the book, and it's also called Thirst, the poem, right? Then I thought it was quite interesting because this poet loves to talk about nature, and this poet had recently gone through like an episode where her husband had passed away, which could be interpreted as a reason as to why she would talk about this thirst, because usually she loves to uh, adorn her poems with the idea of nature, and she even mentions love for the earth in this poem. But in the line, love for the earth and love for you are having such a long conversation in my heart, you can tell that she feels a sense of grief, that she feels desire to enjoy the things in earth, yet at the same time, something so essential and important to her life has left the earth. Yeah, and the way the poet refers to God and the Lord multiple times and uses terms like in your mercy. In this poem, you can interpret the poem as like as a statement to God itself, and the idea of faith that this poet has. Just through that idea, you can see how this poet is trying to genuinely flesh out the poet's feelings about loss and love, and how it can feel very unsettling that you feel love for the earth and feel earth for nature and connection with nature, yet at the same time you have to deal with things like grief. And I think this is why the poet writes the line, I was never a quick scholar but sucked and hunched over my books past the hour and the bell. So my interpretation of this was that this poet loves to learn about the earth, loves to learn about God, but at the same time, he struggles with how this poet has to deal with feelings on such an intense level. Yeah, and the poet is not a very open person. Like if you research about this poet doesn't really take interviews. So I think this poem, even though it clearly is very personal, it still speaks for itself because the poet uses very simple words to flesh out the poet's feelings. Like it just uses the word love, or I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing. Yeah, and I think this poet's thirst is much more complex than the other thirst that we have talked about. This poet is talking about the thirst for the goodness I do not have. And I think this goodness that this poet is talking about here is really managing the feeling of grief and desire at the same time, and how this poet is struggling with it. How do I manage this eternal desire to, you know, reconnect with my husband who has passed away and this love for nature? Yeah, and the poet towards the end seems to just leave it to fate. Who knows what will finally happen or where it will be sent? But at the same time, shows that or reveals that this poet has a stance or a stance based on faith, because she says, I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing, except the prayers which with this thirst I'm slowly learning. So basically, um, I interpreted this line as when I pass away, I should expect to not bring anything with me except this constant struggle to be the best person I can be. This like thirst to be balanced between like desire and managing a sense of grief and trying to find the sweet spot in between. And I'm slowly learning. So the final line clearly shows the ambiguity of this thirst. And yeah, it's like a very innocent, a very pure kind of thirst. That's what I thought.
I think it's quite striking how just now you mentioned that the diction used is very simple. And I think it's a prime example here of less is more. I would say that despite the diction being a lot more simple than the previous two poems that we've read, thus the poem here deals with subject matter that is a lot more complex. So obviously you have seemingly vague terms like goodness, love for the earth and love for you, prayers and beautiful lessons. And I mean this leaves a lot for the imagination. Leaves a lot of room for the reader to put something that they want to put in place of it. And I think this lends a lot to its complexity. I think what makes it also complex in terms of the reading experience is that it's very dynamic. There's a lot of movement. So from line to line, you have like kinesthetic imagery popping up here and there, like wake with thirst, walk out to the pond, sulked and hunched over my books, past the hour and the bell, having such a long conversation. I have given a great many things away, expecting to be told to pack nothing. And yeah, I mean, it's just like those memes about the indomitable human spirit.
Oh.
I think this poem is it's a very good representation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you told me like a modern poet from, let's say, Singapore wrote this, I would probably say they're kind of delusional because we have to deal with a lot of emotional baggage nowadays. But I mean, yeah, if such a person does exist in Singapore, then really good for them.
Yeah, it's a very meditative poem, like the other Mary Oliver poem that we've done on this podcast. The one that Laura Jane chose. What's it about? Wild Geese. Yeah. Actually, I like that you talked about the way that there's a lot of room for imagination in this poem, right? I think similarly, the persona admits that there's a lot that she doesn't understand yet, right? Like she has this spirit of humility, and I know we skipped this line just now. I walk out to the pond, and all the way God has given us such beautiful lessons. I think that's the contrast between the thirst in her, which is so vacuous, right? Like she's still not full. She's still desiring things. She is coping with loss, with the fullness of the pond. Like the pond is full of water, and yeah, it's as if God has God has created something perfect with Earth. The answers lie out there, but that as human beings, our existence is just a continuous struggle to find that answer or that enlightenment. Why am I so soft compared to you guys? But that's that's what I wanted to say about this poem.
Yeah, I think many of Mary Oliver's like critics would or have said before that like she uses a lot of cliches or like words that are cliche, yeah. And I think that's not always a bad thing, because like I mean I've seen a lot of poets that use very complex words. Then I guess it's more easy to misinterpret, and it makes it more difficult to understand the poem as compared to this poem.
Actually, it can go both ways, right? Like if you use vaguer terms, or if you use like overly superfluous or complex terms, there is an added element of ambiguity to both ends.
Yeah, that's true.